Welcome to People. I'm Shirley. Now, right now I'm in the office of In Motion Asia, and right beside me is Cam McLean, who is owner and director of In Motion Asia. Now, Cam is from New Zealand. He's been in Taiwan for 10 years, and he's a tall, active guy. Cam, you want to talk about what is In Motion Asia?
Yeah, hi there. Well, In Motion Asia is an outdoor adventure company. I started here in Taiwan around 2005, and we specialize in corporate team building events and adventure tours and road cycling. Also do youth programs for international schools, event management services, and plus we have a performance store selling some bikes as well. So
you do?
Where's
that store?
It's right in the back here. I can show you afterwards.
Okay.
So we basically do customized high-end road bike builds for customers around Taiwan and Asia.
But actually you don't just only do biking tours, you also do other kind of sportive activities.
Right, we actually, when I started In Motion Asia, we started doing mountain biking of all things, probably because that was my interest at the time, and over the years it's developed into much greater and diverse spread of activities. But the main key is the connection with the outdoors, and Taiwan having a wonderful outdoors, and so we utilize that resource that is right on our doorstep to create events for clients, being corporate or adventure or just a group of mates or whoever.
Is this what brought you to Taiwan?
No, it's one of those classic stories where I originally came to Taiwan thinking I would stay a week to see some friends, and that week turned into 10 years this summer. So
seriously?
I came to Taiwan not knowing pretty much anything about Taiwan, and then once arriving here, although I'd been in Asia for a number of years, but having arrived here and discovering how small the island was, it made sense to go around and have a look. And
but smaller than New Zealand.
It's smaller than New Zealand, yeah,
much smaller.
But spending that time going around Taiwan and just discovering that this island was really quite undiscovered in terms of what I knew, for one, and just had so much to offer in terms of the outdoor environment, and a big passion and love for the outdoors, and straight away it just got me thinking that there's a wonderful resource here that
really
could have some big potential.
But I know that you told me before you came to Taiwan you were doing construction.
Right, my background.
That's a big switch.
It's a huge switch, and I was in the construction industry for a number of years, working in Japan and Hong Kong and Australia and New Zealand. But it became it's a good industry, and you're able to travel with it and make good money, but it just wasn't satisfying for me. And the thought of spending the next 30 years working in that industry didn't really appeal to me, and so I made a decision to make a lifestyle change and a career change, and I didn't quite know what that was at the time, but and then I somehow ended up in Taiwan, and one thing led to another.
So you've actually lived for a period of time in all these other Asian countries that you've been?
I left New Zealand when I was in university, and I wasn't particularly focused at the time, as a lot of people are when they're straight out of school. And I had two good friends. They said, we're going to England. Would you like to come? And the New Zealand tradition is to do what we call the OE, which is the overseas experience. So when you're young, you go to somewhere like England, particularly England or Europe, and you spend a year, like a gap year, just getting something
gap year?
Like a gap year in the US, where they take a year off to do some traveling and get some experiences and learn about life a bit more. So my friends were going to England. They said, "You want to come?" And I was like, "Sure." It sounded like a good idea at the time. And my sister was living in Japan at that time, so I had my flight go via Japan, and ended up staying there for 2 years. And
you mean you never made it to England?
I never made it to England. Right, never made it to England, believe it or not. But had a wonderful time in Japan.
Okay.
So I actually started when I was 19. Left New Zealand, started traveling, and 2 years in Japan, and then a year in Hong Kong.
How did you like Japan?
Japan was fantastic. And
Were you in Tokyo?
I was in Kanazawa, which is famous for the Kenroku-en Gardens, which is on the western side of Japan, for a year, where my sister was.
Okay, all right. What was she doing there?
She was teaching. You know, she's
Teaching English.
She was teaching English at the time with,
I get it.
with her girlfriends over there. So,
I see.
and so I got a job working for a builder, building these 2x4 American-style houses. So that was my introduction to the building scene.
Well, you were lucky that you got that job in your field.
That wasn't my fit. You know, when you're young, it was just more labouring on a construction site.
That wasn't what you studied?
Well, I didn't.
Construction?
I was half a year into university, so I was literally out of school and half a year into university, and then I decided to go travelling. So I guess I didn't really have any skill set at that time.
There was this construction job?
Well, it was just, you know, as you're travelling around backpacking, you know, you can work in bars or you can do some construction work or fruit picking or whatever. So being, you know, a biggish lad, I guess, you know,
Yeah.
I was suited to this type of work and I enjoyed the outdoors straight, you know, didn't want to be inside. So it made sense at the time.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So 2 years in Japan, in Kanazawa.
Right.
What next?
It was 1 year in Kanazawa and 1 year in Osaka, which was a much, much bigger city and the bright lights and that was a lot of fun. And then after that, I went to Hong Kong, which was 1996, the year before the handover, when it was still English-controlled colony. And at the time, they were building the new airport, Lantau, in
and you helped
in
with
Hong Kong.
that?
So I got a job working on the airport there.
Was that the job that you had in Japan that introduced you to this job in Hong Kong?
It was the experience from working, introduction to the construction scene in Japan, and also meeting, and during that time doing some traveling and meeting some friends who also worked in the construction industry, and it was through one of those contacts that got me a job in Hong Kong working on this airport.
Have you always been this lucky all your life?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, you know, I believe, you know, luck's what you make it, right?
Yeah.
And
Wow, that is so neat. Well, I lived in Hong Kong before.
oh, you did?
Yeah, during my elementary school years.
It's a fantastic place.
Yeah.
So I was on.
Okay.
You know, I would say Hong Kong was a defining point in my life in terms of very hard work, long hours. Living with about 7 guys from England in a small backpacker kind of room, and just
During the whole time you were living in Hong Kong?
During the whole time I was living. Oh, we moved around a little bit, but it was, you know, used to do 12-hour shifts on a construction site, and we had about an hour traveling each way. So you're doing these 14-hour shifts, basically. Some very hard construction. We were doing waterproofing, which is probably one of the hardest construction jobs out there. But it was a great defining moment, just in terms of teaching a young kid the meaning of hard work and how to earn a living, look after yourself,
and you
the whole
were probably
experience.
about 21, 22
I was about 22, I think, going on around 21, 22 at the time. So
do you think it's the Hong Kong's hard-working mentality that got you used to Taiwan? Because of all places that you lived in Asia, you're staying the longest in Taiwan, am I right?
Right. So
what is about Taiwan that made you stay this long, and probably for many more years after this?
I think it was more a cycle that I went through as a kid, and as a lot of young people traveling around, where when you're traveling, you'll arrive somewhere and you'll find a job, save up some money, and then spend that doing some more traveling. And then when the money runs out, you'll do some more work.
That's not going to happen here, is it?
No,
well,
it's
your
not.
money's going to run out, and then you're going to move somewhere else, and they're going to say bye-bye to you.
No, so that was a cycle I guess I went through for about 6 or 8 years. And I would spend probably about 2 years in a country, being Japan. Hong Kong was only a year. And then after that, Australia. So I went through this cycle. And then I got to a point, as you mature and grow older that you get a bit tired of spending all your money and ending up down here again and having to start again saving all your money. So it was kind of, at that point that I decided to go back to university. And at that time I was about 23, 24, and I thought, if I don't go back to university now, I possibly never will. So I really, got that mindset to this time save my money for study.
Okay.
And after Hong Kong, I went to Sydney as well, still working in the construction industry.
But studying at the same time?
No, just saving, purely saving money. And then I applied to enroll in university back in New Zealand. And with my experience having in Japan and Hong Kong and Australia, it was all in the construction industry. And, realizing you could make some pretty good money, and it was also enabled you to travel. I thought I'd like to extend my skill set within that industry. So I went back and studied construction management in Auckland, in New Zealand, which is where my father lives also. So I was pretty determined at that age, at 23, and it was a 4-year degree, and my focus was to do the degree as quickly and as well as I could and get back out traveling again. So I condensed this 4-year degree into 3 years. And did pretty well, got the Dean's Scholar and top student in a couple of these classes. And I literally flew out the day after my last exam again.
You couldn't wait.
I couldn't wait. I had the travel bug, and 3 years sitting in one place was enough. So.
Okay, you're not a city guy, I guess. Being in Sydney, in a big city, you want to just get out as soon as you're done with studies.
Yeah, I was brought up in the city, but my sister lives in the countryside, who I used to go and see a lot. So I enjoy the excitement and the accessibility and the infrastructure of a city, but I definitely enjoy the peace and the adventure of the outdoors.
Okay.
So it's a mixture.
Taipei is not peaceful.
Well, it's
a busy, buzzing
It is,
city.
but compared to, say, a Shanghai or a Hong Kong or a Singapore.
You've been there too, Shanghai?
I've not living, but traveled through there. Taipei is quite a relaxed city compared to elsewhere, and that was half the attraction of Taipei when I first came here. But actually, Taipei is blessed. It's one of the few cities, I think, anywhere where you have this hustling, busy, great city, but you're surrounded by mountains and ocean, so you can very quickly get out of the city. And Yamingsan's just literally behind us. And whether you're into hiking or cycling or whatever, and enjoy the outdoors. So.
I always tell people that Taiwan's got a lot of the convenience because of 7-Elevens at every corner of the of the block and everything.
Right.
But actually, you're talking about convenience as in you're in the city, but only within minutes you can already get to the mountains or even the beach.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right.
I literally get on my bike, and 5 minutes that way, I'm in the hills, working out. Yeah,
you found a good place for your office in Neihu.
Right.
Because it's, just like minutes off that way, it's the mountains, minutes off that way. Yeah, this is great. So, In Motion Asia, how did you think of that name, In Motion? So you're always on the move.
Yeah, when I came to Taipei and Taiwan and realized, wow, this country is totally unexpected for me in terms of the big mountains and being a compact country, very dramatic. And straight away I saw potential there to utilize the outdoors with my love of the outdoors as well. So, but in Motion Asia, I literally sat down and I must have spent about 2 days just brainstorming
by yourself,
a million different words by myself, and combination of different words, and Googling around and just putting different words together. And I liked In Motion because it's something that's moving. The motion, the definition of motion is moving, it's active. And also I wanted to connect to Asia, being seen as Taiwan is geographically located within Asia. So it was just, and then I came up probably with 10 different names and just emailed a bunch of friends and said, hey, what do you think? and I reached this one.
What was the very, very first tour that you took around?
And
now,
so,
I
yeah.
understand that what you do is actually, if anybody were to come traveling to Taiwan, they don't want to see the city, they don't want to go up on Taipei 101, they don't want to do the usual things. They want to go out and see the nature. That's when they come to you.
Well, we do all sorts actually. We also do the city stuff, and our corporate team building programs are predominantly based in a city or nearby, and that's exactly the type of thing we do. So,
but that's without bikes.
That's
so
without bikes,
what do you do
right?
within the city? What kind of things?
Well, corporate team building programs can be anything from like the Amazing Race type concept. It can be sightseeing. It can be things like dragon dancing, or it can be sitting in a hotel room doing incentive-based team building activities. So the cycling is actually just a small component of what we do in terms of the cycling tours.
Now, your Chinese would have to be very good because I can see that you have to be constantly contacting Taiwanese organizations or companies or whatnot to arrange this kind of sightseeing trips.
Right.
And I understand that your company right now is only like two-person company.
We have two people full-time.
Yeah.
And also have about 15 freelance staff that we use for programs and make our team depending on the program.
They have their regular jobs.
And they have their regular jobs. So in the early days, it was me on a phone. So when I first came to Taiwan, I went to Chinese school for about a year, on and off, and got the basics down. But in the early days, it would be me calling up hotels, booking rooms as best I could. But
by yourself?
By myself, right.
You're amazing.
Wow, you know, it's not too hard. You know, persistence pays off, right?
It's what you learn from construction management.
Right. Actually, and those project management skills in terms of organizing an event. And, you know, in the construction industry, you're looking after, say, 15, 20 subcontractors or vendors, and it's the same expertise or principles that you put into place for organizing an event. It's just a different environment. So,
okay.
But thank goodness I have this wonderful assistant now, program manager, who can help do all that work for me, which really, really helps. But,
so do you take groups around yourself personally?
It depends on the group, yeah. So the cycling I still do, simply because I really enjoy it.
There's this shirt.
And there's our shirt there.
Great.
So, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And so Taiwan is, it's become more and more well known. But in terms of the road cycling in Taiwan, it would be one of the best destinations in the world, simply because it's a small...
In the world?
In the world. We've had clients coming here who have cycled all through Europe. And they'll come to Taiwan and we'll do a tour for them, and particularly central Taiwan with Sun Moon Lake and Qingjing and the Wuling Peak, and either down to Taroko Gorge or come down to somewhere like Wuling Nongchang or Yilan with the Jiaoxi and the hot springs.
Yeah.
You know, it's on par with anything they've done, just because you know, you can be at sea level in the morning and you can be at 3,000 meters in the afternoon. So there's dramatic change of scenery and environment, and vice versa as you come down. You know, it's quite exciting. So so Taiwan's becoming more and more well known, and particularly, you know, you've got companies like Giant Hair and Merida and these other companies, and the Taiwan Tourism Bureau and all these other people helping promote the country. But it's fantastic cycling, and the drivers are courteous here, whereas even say somewhere like Hong Kong, which was one of our major markets, you know, as you would know, the roads are a lot narrower, and it's a much smaller, busier city. So a lot of our clients, you know, in Hong Kong, they'll be up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Simply, well, one, they have to work, and two, just to beat the traffic and the chaos of that city. But you know, here you can go out any time of the day up in Yamingsan.
Right, and with the metro system,
with the
so
metro
convenient.
system, very accessible. Right.
Wow, I had no idea that our terrain are so attractive to the world. It's in comparison.
It's fantastic. So we'll have groups of groups of colleagues or friends, and they'll come back year after year for an annual tour, and
Really?
We take them around different parts of Taiwan.
So you have some fixed clients who are your regular customers.
I would say
so
for
to
our
speak.
road cycling adventures, it's probably 70% repeat clients.
Great.
Whether they be groups of mates or friends or clubs, cycling clubs or triathlon clubs or whatnot,
You know how to
wanting
do
to come back
business.
year and year again. I try. But actually, Taiwan sells itself. It's, we arrange the framework with the accommodation and the transport and the support, but Taiwan's a very beautiful country and it's underrated. So I think that's half the attraction as well. When people come to Taiwan, they're perhaps not expecting, Taiwan, people think of the industry and the computer scene and the IT scene and the busy cities, so which of course exists. But as soon as you get them away from that, I think it's beyond their expectations.
Really?
And so that's what really excites people to
Wow.
want to come back again to Taiwan.
Now, I've wondered if you take these biking tours around the island,
Right.
you yourself must have explored the whole place. Now, how do you, from your website, it
Right.
seems like you've discovered some routes or some trails that are
Right.
out of the ordinary. And is that what you do? You actually go and kind of like explore and be adventuresome to discover some routes that will really be attractive to people, foreigners, so that they're not, you don't bring a tour so that they're barged with all these tourists,
Right.
but it's like out of traffic, out of the ordinary crowds, and then for them to see the real beauty, the kind of nature that isn't often taken by other tours probably.
Exactly. And so, a lot of the clients, when they come to Taiwan for a cycling tour, people with busy jobs back in, wherever, Hong Kong or Singapore or around Asia. So, it's a combination of wanting, to have a break from work, to escape that busy lifestyle they have, and also enjoy the outdoors. So, but yeah, we take big pride in only using locations that, for the cycling, for example, minimal traffic and the best scenery, and also variety in terrain. In terms of some flat riding and some rolling hills and some mountains, and it makes it interesting. And also with good accommodation and good food, and being able to present that in a package. And being a foreigner, you can relate to what other foreigners would like if they come to Taiwan or looking for a cycling adventure. So, and I think, to be honest, I think it probably differs somewhat to what a local Taiwanese would expect or enjoy.
Yeah.
So we really, and our key is customizing tours for these experiences. Right.
My feeling is that I think in the last 30 or 40 years, that's when Taiwanese people are getting more active and getting outdoors more.
Right.
Doing more of the outdoor activities and all that, because I'm sure there are companies who come to you because they want to get their employees out of the office environment and experience nature, but not only that, kind of build up their self-confidence. Now,
Right.
you do that too, right?
Right, sure.
So in this package that you do, you also have these self-confidence building,
Team building.
team building.
Right.
Okay, as well as kids too, right?
Right. So,
what are those like?
So for the corporate team building clients, we get a whole range. It can be a company that's already here and they're doing a conference or whatever, and they just simply want to get out of the hotel. So it can be something simple like taking them hiking in Yameng-san and finishing with a hot spring and a dinner, something that simple. Or it can be a company and they want more active participation. So something like the Amazing Race or river tracing or
But you
some of these other
designed this
things.
all yourself.
So we design these programs and put them together and go out and find
That
these
could be
locations.
easy.
It's a lot of fun though.
Really?
So you So I guess when I first came to Taiwan, I spent the first 2 or 3, and particularly starting this business, spent the first 2 or 3 years just exploring Taiwan.
Oh, is that
and
right?
As a client would come to me, they'll say, "Hey Cam, we're interested in doing this and this and this," and you know, I would sit down and brainstorm some ideas, and you know, and I'd highlight maybe 2 or 3 areas that I think would be suitable for that from my previous experience. And then in the early days, I'd go and visit these areas and what we call recce, explore these areas and put the program together. And then I'd go back to the client and say, here's a fantastic area.
How's
This is what we've got. Here's some pictures. What do you think?
And they usually go with it, right?
And they usually go with it, or they tweak it slightly or customize it. And so now, having done this for 8-9 years, you know, I've got a great database of Taiwan and pretty much explored all of Taiwan. And so now a client can come to us and you know, we have a database of great areas for them to explore.
Wow.
So,
what about the kids? Now you say you only do it with international schools?
Yeah, so our youth programs are customized for the international schools, whether they're in here in Taiwan or overseas. And so a lot
overseas?
of these...
Wait, what do you mean? You bring them overseas?
It'll be a school, so a lot of these international schools, as part of their curriculum, they'll do some overseas travel experience, whereas they take the overseas...
And you're the guide?
And so we're the local operator for them. And so the school will come to us and say, you know, hey, we've got, you know, 50 kids, 100 kids from in a particular grade, and we're looking to do... Schools are quite specific in terms of what they're doing because they'll usually have a 5 or 6 year curriculum for the grades. And you know, and there might be the grade 9, and in grade 9 they step it up and do some outdoor adventure. And so they'll come to us and say, Cam, we want to do, you know, an outdoor experience in the outdoors. We'd like to learn these skills, learn how to teach the kids how to cook on a gas stove and then put up a tent. Or whatever.
Sorry, so you're talking about international schools from abroad who want to make an overseas trip in Taiwan.
Correct.
Oh, I see.
So that can be anything from, if they're coming from overseas, it usually be a week-long program. So at the moment, for example, we're just putting a program together for an international school from Korea. Yeah. And they want to bring over 80 students plus some
80?
facilities. 80. So it's a good sized group.
How many volunteers, no, not volunteers, freelance workers that you need for a team of 80?
So 80 is too big a group to manage as a whole. So what we do, we'd break it down into, you know, expedition groups or so. So usually about 12 students. And within that, the school would provide one of their own teachers or staff to help with the behavioral issues and just control the students a bit and nighttime duty.
You don't deal with those behavioral issues.
Right, and then we provide the facilitator to actually lead the program. So it's usually for youth programs, it would be a ratio of 12 students to 2 adults, 2 to 3 adults.
Yeah.
And so for a group of 80, you know, we'd have 6-7 facilitators, a program leader, have a logistics coordinator, and then depending on the activities, if there's say high ropes involved, then we'd have say 2 to 3 high rope specialists who help us set up the abseils and rappels. So
I'm bad at math, so that
quite a
adds
big
up
team.
to...
So it could be, you know, a team of 10 to 15 from our side, and they'd have 80 students and maybe another 12 staff. So it'd be 100 plus, right? So
where do you get these people?
Well, you know, Taiwan is has a resource of outdoor people, and there's a lot of people. It's getting there. It's building up. So, you know, I have a number of contacts, both local Taiwanese and foreigners, who have good experience in the outdoors, and very safety conscious, or speak English and Chinese.
And Chinese.
So sometimes, yeah, we present the programs in English or present them in Chinese, depending what the client wants. So it's just basically have a base of good people that we use, and when we get an inquiry, we put our team together, depending on the activities and location. So.
Well, hey, you're doing good. You're doing very good.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You know, real passion for it and enjoy it. And,
well, that is great. Wow.
Being able to combine, you know, love of the outdoors with the business is fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now this is one last question that I always ask my guests.
Right.
And that is, what would be that sound that you miss if you were to leave Taiwan? What would be that one sound that you would miss?
You know, I think, you know, the one sound that sticks with me would be summertime in Taiwan. You know, on a beautiful blue sky, hot day, and whether you're hiking or riding your bike up a hill, and just the noise of the forest, and particularly the cicadas. And I'm sure you know, in summertime here, they're very loud, and they're singing, you know, and their pitch comes and goes, and it's just this companion, you know, in your journey wherever you're going. So I think that, and the birds, or the, you know, a waterfall. So it's just be the sound of Taiwan nature and the outdoors would definitely.
That just somehow is not the same as outdoors in any other country around the world.
Yeah, I don't know. The cicadas seem to be very loud here. Yeah, for some reason, or they just love to. You know, they're happy, love to sing as well. So.
And it seems like, you know, the hotter it gets, the louder they get.
Exactly.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. And maybe the slower we get, so we have to listen to them more. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, hey, it was a lot of fun talking with you, Cam.
Absolutely.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd say bring nature to all the Taiwanese, immobile Taiwanese people, because I think Taiwanese people need to get out a lot more.
They are, and they're doing it more and more, for sure, which is fantastic to see, because Taiwan's a fantastic country, and it's got a lot to offer, so it's really great to see.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for watching, people. I'm Shirley.